So 2025 has been a crazy year for credit cards. We've got $800 annual fees becoming a thing now, several new cards launching or getting major updates, and a bunch of popular ways of redeeming points and miles getting devalued almost every other week. I've honestly never seen this many changes happen to so many aspects of the credit card game in such a short period of time, and there's still several new developments that are expected to happen before the year ends. So in my opinion, after all this, I think the credit card game has been changed forever, and the only way to continue coming out ahead of the banks is to adapt or otherwise get left behind. So in this video, I want to go over the 4 things you need to be thinking about when it comes to navigating all these changes and winning the credit card game moving forward so that you're not wasting your money or your time. Starting with the first point I want to make here, which is that high-end lifestyle credit cards are here to stay, and the truth is you probably don't need them. Now, lifestyle credit cards are a trend that pretty much started with the Amex Platinum back in 2021, and back then what Amex did was they increased the annual fee on the Platinum while also adding in some credits and benefits that kind of expanded the card beyond just travel and helped give it a wider appeal. And the American Express CEO then went on to say that the Platinum was morphing into what they called a lifestyle card. This shift helped Amex win over more and more millennial and Gen Z customers, which is a huge area of focus for issuers. And American Express continued this trend of increasing annual fees while adding in other lifestyle benefits with the refresh of their Gold card in the summer of 2024. And then there's going to be another refresh of the Platinum card coming up here again very soon in 2025 as well. Other issuers have begun copying this trend now too because of how successful and profitable it was for Amex, with the most obvious example being the Chase Sapphire Reserve. So the CSR now has a $7.95 annual fee and credits for things like dining, Apple subscriptions, StubHub, and more that Chase says will give cardholders over $1,500 in annual lifestyle value. So that goes beyond the travel focus that this credit card originally had. Citi also launched their new premium $595 Strata Elite recently, which also has hints of both lifestyle and travel benefits. And so with all this lifestyle card stuff expanding to several issuers now on their high annual fee products, I wouldn't expect this trend to slow down anytime soon. But my take here for the average person looking to navigate the credit card world right now is that you probably don't need to have any of these high-end cards in your wallet. And that's because I think issuers just got a bit too aggressive with the pricing updates and the coupon booking that they're doing on these cards, so much so that they're actually making their lower annual fee options look a lot more appealing now as a result. Take the $95 Citi Strata Premier, for example. When we compare this card to the Strata Elite, we're seeing an annual fee that's 6 times higher on the Elite card. But even if we ignore the fees and the potential value of the credits that may help to offset some of those fees, I don't think you can really objectively say that the Elite is that much better of a credit card than the Premier. Sure, you get some limited airport lounge access to Admirals Clubs and Priority Pass on Citi's top tier card, and you also get a credit for TSA PreCheck or Global Entry. But other than those things, the Premier pretty clearly has better everyday spending multipliers by earning 3x points on a ton of stuff like air travel, hotels, restaurants, supermarkets, gas, and EV charging. Both the Premier and the Elite also transfer points to the same travel programs, including the newly added American Airlines. Plus, with the Premier, you don't have to really worry about justifying a nearly $600 upfront investment each year like you do with the Elite. So to me, the cheaper Strata Premier now looks a lot better by comparison. The same is true for the Chase Sapphire Preferred, where there's going to be plenty of good value over on that card compared to the now over 8 times more expensive Sapphire Reserve, and both of those cards have access to the exact same transfer partners, including Hyatt, which is a fan favorite in the whole points and miles world. Honestly, right now, the pricing structures on these credit card lineups that the issuers have is reminding me of sort of the opposite way that movie theaters tend to price their snacks to encourage people to buy their largest size. So what I mean by that is that movie theaters might have a small popcorn that's priced at $6 that looks like it's too small, but then they also have a medium priced at $9 and a large priced only $1 more at $10. So because the small is too small and the large is only $1 more than the medium, people are likely going to go with the most expensive large popcorn because of the way these prices are structured together. But with credit cards, issuers tend to have one or maybe a few zero annual fee cards in their lineup, and then they have a card that's typically around $95 per year. But now for the top tier travel cards they offer, instead of being in the range of around $400 to $550 with only a few easy to use credits, they've now pushed up those annual fees to $600 to $900 and then added in many credits that can become difficult to manage to try to justify those costs. And by looking through the comment sections on my most recent videos lately to hear people's thoughts on these changes, I can clearly tell that people just are not feeling compelled to buy into these high annual fee cards anymore because of how much better the price to value math turns out to be for the more mid-tier lower annual fee cards. Now, credit cards are not a one-size-fits-all type of thing, so there are going to be people out there who actually do find enough value from these high annual fee cards to justify having them in their wallet. But as someone who talks about credit cards and personal finance for a living, I just want to make it clear that again, you definitely do not need to have any of these expensive cards. However, one thing that I commonly hear people say to themselves to sort of help justify getting a high-end lifestyle card anyway is that, yeah, I'll get some value from the credits, but the card is really worth it for me for the airport lounge access. And that is going to bring me here to my next point that I want to make in this video, which is that airport lounge access, in my opinion, can be kind of overrated as a premium credit card benefit. Now, personally, I do enjoy a good airport lounge, so I like getting free food and drinks without paying airport prices, kicking back with views of planes taking off, and then just relaxing somewhere that's not really as chaotic as the gate before I board my plane. But I also really dislike a few things about a lot of lounges too, like how you can't always guarantee that you're gonna get in thanks to long lines. And even when you do get in, there's a good chance that it's really overcrowded and then you can't find a good seat, or the fact that sometimes a lounge that you want to visit might be in an entirely different terminal that takes you 20 minutes to get to or from. I've had plenty of bad lounge experiences over the years, including just the other week actually, where I was all excited to get to the Chase Sapphire Lounge at JFK before my wife and I started our trip to Switzerland. But after a long wait in airport security because TSA PreCheck was closed for some reason, we got to the lounge with about 1 hour before boarding, hoping to grab dinner, only to then be told that there was a 40-minute wait. And so obviously we just said no thanks and went on to another lounge instead. That's not the first time that's happened to us either, and Amex and Capital One lounges have been just as guilty with the same issues. And it's not every single time that this happens, but when it does, it really leaves you with a bad customer experience because it just makes you feel like you're not important enough to them, even though you are paying an annual fee that's several $100s on a card that's supposed to get you into these lounges as one of the main selling points. Now, we are seeing issuers try to make changes to cut back on these overcrowding issues, like Capital One cutting free lounge access for guests in early 2026, which is something that Amex did a while ago on the Platinum card. And it wouldn't shock me to see Chase do something similar on their Sapphire Reserve card in the future as well, because that card does still allow 2 free guests to visit with you. Now, with all that said, I want to mention something here that I feel like it's important for me to say, but there's been plenty of trips that I've gone on lately where I simply got to the airport on time before departure, went through security, waited maybe 30 minutes, and then boarded my flight without going to a lounge. And for those trips, they were just as memorable compared to the trips where I did go to a lounge. So the main takeaway that I have for anyone watching this video is don't place too much value on airport lounge access if you're really considering getting a high-end travel credit card like I talked about earlier. But if you do decide to get a travel credit card that gets you into these lounges, I would say to just lower your expectations a bit here for what that access actually gets you. And also I'd recommend to limit yourself to only one premium credit card if you can. Choose between the Amex Platinum, Capital One Venture X, Chase Sapphire Reserve, or Citi Strata Elite based on what fits your travel plans through different airports. And we're also gonna have a full review video coming very soon comparing all those credit cards. So if you haven't already, then make sure to go ahead and subscribe down below so you don't miss that. Also, really quickly, but we've got a few more days left for you to enter our giveaway to celebrate 200,000 subscribers. So we're going to be giving away packages with an Andar Apollo wallet, an Apple AirTag, and also an Apple AirTag holder to 10 of our subscribers. All you got to do is, first of all, make sure you are subscribed to this YouTube channel, but to enter the giveaway, you have to then subscribe to our newsletter, Wiser Wallet, as well, which is completely free. And that newsletter is also a great way that my team and I can just go and send you guys more content every single week with emails on Tuesdays and Fridays. You can join that newsletter with the link down below in the description, and you're going to be automatically entered into this giveaway and any other future ones that we run through Wiser Wallet. So thank you guys so much again for helping to grow this YouTube channel and also our newsletter to where they are today. Now, moving on, the third point that I want to make here in this video is that changes and devaluations are inevitable in the credit card game, so you should always have a plan B. And for this, I want to quote fellow Philadelphia native Benjamin Franklin, who once said that in this world, there's only 2 certainties, death and taxes. But for the purposes of this video, I also want to add a third item to that list, which would be devaluations to credit cards and points. Now, I know that everyone's getting really frustrated at all the changes happening within the credit card world this year, but the fact is that this is nothing new, and 2025 just happened to be a year where this cycle of updates and devaluations hit really hard. But this stuff is just a natural part of playing the credit card game, and so I try to remind myself of that instead of just getting too mad about it. And because changes and updates are normal, that means that winning the credit card game is going to be all about reacting and then adjusting your strategy as time goes on. I think that's actually what makes this fun and interesting as a hobby, because the rules are always changing, but I think that's also why you need to make sure you're always learning and staying up to date about what's going on with this stuff by watching my channel and other channels out there, or by reading newsletters and websites that talk about this stuff too. The banks, airlines, and hotels are almost counting on the vast majority of people not paying attention to all these changes, and it's one of the tools they have to stay one step ahead of you. But if you can accept these changes happening as just another normal cost of playing the game, then as long as you can stay at least somewhat informed of these changes, you're going to be able to continue coming out ahead of the banks and ahead of 99% of other people out there who aren't paying attention. Now, that also means that sometimes you have to be willing to basically change course in your strategy when it makes sense to do that. So I think it's important to always have a plan B in place for what you should do with a certain credit card if the issuer decides to nerf it in the future, or you should have a backup in mind of how you can redeem your points if a certain redemption opportunity eventually goes away. For example, if you were holding a top tier travel credit card that's now going through a major refresh and that card is no longer going to give you enough value to keep it, then look into whether or not you can downgrade that to another no annual fee or lower annual fee card offered by the same issuer. My advice here is that the credit card issuers are not going to be loyal to you because they're already too loyal to their shareholders and to profitability, and that's totally fine. So just don't be afraid to break up with them if they're no longer meeting your expectations or fitting your needs. There's plenty of fish in the sea and plenty of credit cards that can be in your wallet, so just accept change as being inevitable, have a plan B for everything, adapt when it makes sense, and also don't get too frustrated because as long as you're not paying any interest, then you're already doing better with your credit cards than about half of Americans who currently carry a balance. Now, I also want to acknowledge that some of you watching this video might hear me saying all this stuff, and you might start thinking, well, why am I even earning points and using travel credit cards if they're going to be this unpredictable? That's a valid question to ask, and it's going to lead me to my next point I want to make here, which is that it's perfectly fine to earn cash back as well if you don't really have the flexibility that's typically required to play the credit card game for travel. So I know that I always like to talk about being on team travel in my videos because I like to earn points and then find ways to leverage those points to save on flights and hotel stays, but not everyone is going to enjoy doing that as much as I do, so I want to make it clear here that it can also be a great idea to be on team cashback instead. Actually, it might even be best to be a hybrid player in the credit card game nowadays because sometimes earning cash back might actually be the smarter move and the smarter choice that earns you the highest return on certain types of spending, and it really all just depends on the situation and the cards that you have in your wallet. So for example, I like to show you guys what's in my wallet every single quarter because I just want to walk you through my logic for why I'm using certain credit cards over others. And one credit card that's been in my wallet a lot over the past year that's strictly a cashback card is the Discover It. That card earns 5% back in rotating quarterly categories, but it also has a first year cashback matching promotion that I've been in the middle of since September of 2024, which is wrapping up soon for me. But that means that I've been able to effectively earn 5% back in select categories every 3 months, and then that's going to get matched with another 5% after my first year. So that is effectively 10% back for me on certain purchases. Now, when grocery stores was a 5% category on the Discover It where I could get matched for effectively 10% back earlier this year, I chose to earn that 10% cash back with Discover instead of earning 4x points per dollar with my typical grocery store card, which is the Amex Gold. The reason why I did that is because I value Amex points at 2 cents per point each because I view that as a realistic travel redemption value that I know I'm going to be able to get out of those points for travel that I normally would pay cash for anyway. So 4x points per dollar on groceries with the gold card times 2 cents per point is 8% back in value, and that's going to be less than the 10% back that I was getting from Discover during that time, so I picked my Discover It card over the Amex Gold in that spending category. There's other similar situations where people could also be better off using a cashback card over a points earning card as well. So you could earn 5% back with the Amazon Prime Visa on Amazon purchases instead of maybe using something like the Capital One Venture X or something like that to earn 2x miles per dollar. And like I just talked about, those decisions really come down to not only how you plan to earn rewards on your credit cards, but also how you plan to then redeem those rewards. So my opinion here on how this relates to winning the credit card game moving forward is that being on team travel is going to be great because you can get some higher upside value, but that higher upside usually comes at the cost of being very flexible in your travel plans, as well as being flexible in how you adapt your strategy to new changes and devaluations to credit cards and redemption methods. And then while being on team cashback does have more stability and it can still bring good results, again, you're not going to find as much upside value as travel, and the sign-up bonuses and benefits also aren't as great. So to me, I think that having some sort of a hybrid credit card setup that incorporates both travel and cashback is going to be the best way to do it now. Or even better, if you really want to take your credit card strategy to the next level here, you might want to think about teaming up with a friend or a significant other by putting a 2-player credit card strategy in place. So if you want to see how you and someone else out there can get over $10,000 in value from a 2-player strategy like my wife and I have, then make sure to go ahead and check out this video over here on the screen next. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.